price corn falling nearly 30% so far this year. A lot of our reporters, then, when they get like really important and seniority and everything like that, I don't mean age, I don't equate that with age, but they get to, she's constantly on a farm or in front of a big pig at a country fair or something. Jane Wells joins us now with more from the country's biggest farm show. These are your ideas, aren't they, Jane? And what's the story?
These are my ideas. These are my people. This is America. This is where it puts the food on the table,
right,
gets people up to work. I love it. But we're going to have to see what happens in the future here, because corn prices are actually heading back up close to about $5 again, because we're going to have a real hot spell in the Corn Belt this week. Still, it's unlikely we're going to get to see $8 corn again anytime soon, and that could make it a real challenge to sell these state-of-the-art tractors like this one by Challenger, owned by AGCO. It's their brand new MT800 series, up to 590 horsepower, fuel efficient, yours for $300,000. It is a monster, but here's the deal. If you look at the stock chart for AGCO, it really has been a good run for a lot of these equipment manufacturers. They've had record revenues, strong orders, but most analysts think the buying cycle is peaking and we could see a dip in 2014. Deere actually down year to date. UBS among those predicting a sales drop next year at Deere as farmers anticipate lower cash receipts and farm income. So you don't want to spend as much because you don't need to deduct as much against your taxes. So one thing these companies are really selling now is the next evolution, which is more efficiency through precision farming, tractors which drive themselves through satellites, or technology that measures where the best yields are on your farm. And we have kind of an old-fashioned Windows versus Apple battle going on. AGCO has an open platform that works across many different pieces of equipment, not just theirs. They're actually working with Apple to develop it. But Deere is going the more traditional Apple route, developing its own proprietary closed system, allowing others to provide apps. Think iTunes. Wireless data transfer is the big new deal, because many farmers currently gather this data on a thumb drive in their tractor, and then they don't do anything with it. Listen.
Well, now we're going to be able to wirelessly transfer that to a website. We call it myjohndeere.com. And then the farmer can access it on his handheld device, iPad, or his home computer.
And we really are, I would say, the supporter of a mixed fleet on a farm. So instead of having a closed network, we're collaborating with other types of equipment manufacturers so that a farmer benefits from the technology versus locking them into one core OEM.
Okay, but farmers need to be convinced their data will be secure, and that is a challenge. Dave Stewart finally pulled the trigger on a $15,000 system which lets him monitor the yields across his nearly 1,500 acres of corn and soybeans, and it's mostly telling him what he already knows.
I can show that to my landlords, and then they'll say, well, I want that 200 bushel corn on all of it. And I said, well, we got to work on this. This area here needs attention. So and we will. They're all very understanding.
Look, here, the computer says it.
I don't have to. I've been telling you this for 40 years, but this is real now. So.
All right. Later on Squawk on the Street, we're going to talk about the value of farmland. Guys, if we had put our 401ks in Illinois and Iowa farmland 5 years ago, we wouldn't have to get up early anymore and come to work. Back to you.
I just think it's great. I mean, when you think about, the Malthusian predictions over the last 100 years about as population grows and we're not going to be able to keep up with it, and you watch the way these guys have maximized yield, they could do it even further, I think. It's almost like Moore's Law. It keeps getting more and more efficient.
It is amazing. Through the satellite technology, they can now self-drive these tractors to within an inch of where they need to be, and the savings on fuel and just better efficiencies. And when you talk about efficiencies, this is the one place where you have nobody complaining about GMO seeds.
Yeah, so Jane, this is all satellite-based. This isn't like your Verizon data plan that's letting you steer your tractor in the middle of your field, right?
It's a variety of that. The satellite is directing the tractor where to go, but you have all kinds of things that are measuring whether it's terrestrial or satellite. And the key is to then combine this information and be able to share it among pieces of equipment, and even with your dealer if you want, or a crop consultant. The problem is a lot of farmers tend to be older and they don't necessarily want to share information, and they also have to be confident that the data can be kept private if they wish it to be so.
Okay. It's It's amazing. It gives me makes me proud, doesn't it, Andrew? It does. You ever been? No, probably not. Ever seen a farm?
I've seen a farm.
You ever seen an animal?
I've seen an animal. I used to milk cows in the summer.
You used to milk cows
in the summer
Whoa,
in
whoa,
Vermont.
whoa. Picture it didn't happen.
Here's my big fear. My big fear is later when I ask for video of corn and soybeans, the editor won't know the difference. So I apologize in advance if I'm talking about corn and you see soybeans.
All right. Thanks so much for that, Jade.